Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are on Love 99.5 FM. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Radio Max in Takrady, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, Ganga FM in Jirapa and Radio Y in Wa. We are live on X Spaces. We are on Facebook. We are on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duroplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. We are the only water storage tank with a level indicator, and where Duroplus goes, water always flows. This afternoon, United Nations Development Program in Ghana expresses concern over the underrepresentation of women in leadership in Ghana as the world marks International Women's Day today.
Ghana is punching below its weight. We really are at a critical stage where something has to give. So affirmative action has worked elsewhere, and it is one of the tools that will push us towards a path.
Meanwhile, Ghana's Electoral Commission says it acknowledges the hurdles of women seeking leadership positions, as it says it is working towards the inclusion of women and other vulnerable groups in all their activities. And there's more, as the Women's Parliamentary Caucus of the NDC says the appointment of Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman is a victory for women.
Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman's nomination also serves as an inspiration for all young girls across the country to aspire to leadership role and pursue their dreams.
Also in this package, we ask, is the Information Ministry still relevant in the country's governance structure?
As we live in an information age, it will be an incurable harm should the Ministry of Information be scrapped.
We have more, as the Information Minister designates Banker hopes on the yet-to-be-passed broadcasting bill to regulate media content. But as a Muslim, is she ready to welcome another woman to her matrimonial home?
I was clear in my mind at the time of contracting the marriage that both instances are potentially polygamous marriages. Thank you, Honorable.
We have details of that this afternoon. Also, President Akufo-Addo promises memorable and spectacular games as Ghana welcomes the rest of the continent for the All Africa Games.
We had to undergo quite a lot of sacrifices to be able to have mounted these games, and we think that these sacrifices are necessary and acceptable both for ourselves and for the people of the continent of Africa.
And Shatawale Pat Thomas, another top musician, to mount the stage at the opening ceremony of the Africa Games here in Accra.
Freedom. Freedom. Freedom.
Later, a loss too painful to easily accept. Words of some residents of Ejiso in the Ashanti region who have thrown the home of their late MP and Deputy Finance Minister Dr. John Kuma.
Over 500 youths, this man have able to assist them to get into various jobs. So words cannot describe how the man is.
We'll also get to hear from his former boss, Ken Ofuriata, who's been speaking about this particular loss. That and more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. Please do stay for details. Many thanks for staying with us. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, as the world marks International Women's Day today, the United Nations Development Program in Ghana, UNDP, is shining light on the general underrepresentation of Ghanaian women in the leadership affairs of this country. Presently, women account for less than 15% of members of parliament, prompting concerns that the needs and priorities of women are being relegated. The last elections, for instance, at the district level and local unit members equally witnessed low participation of women. The Electoral Commission this afternoon, in the last few hours, released a statement acknowledging the challenges women face, as it says it will work towards the inclusion of women and other vulnerable groups in all their activities. My colleague Kenneth JC joins me in studio with details of that statement. What does it say?
Well, it says, on the occasion of the International Women's Day, I send a message of solidarity to all women who have been at the forefront of championing our country's progress and and development. The Electoral Commission of Ghana wholly supports the theme for this year's celebration, which is Inspire Inclusion. As a commission, we believe in leaving no one behind. As such, ahead of the 2024 general elections, we will work towards the inclusion of women and other vulnerable groups in all our activities. We encourage all eligible women and girls to participate actively in our electoral activities and in the general elections in December 2024. On this memorable occasion, I wish all women and girls a happy International Women's Day, and that is signed by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah.
Thank you very much. That's Kenneth Jesse with details of that statement from the Electoral Commission. And as we focus on the day, there's a push being made for more representation of women, especially in leadership in Ghana. UNDP resident representative for Ghana, Dr. Angela Lusigi, and Clotilde Colley MP, Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings, both say a lot more ought to be done to empower women. There's more in the following report.
The United Nations estimates that more than 300 million women and girls could be living in extreme poverty by 2030 if steps are not taken to close the gender gap. As the United Nations lead development agency, the UNDP says Ghana should not be left out, as the agency says women are underrepresented across the country.
Ghana is punching below its weight. At 14.5% representation in parliament, with less than 28% of the MPs under 45, we really are at a critical stage where something has to give. So affirmative action has worked elsewhere. We've seen it work in countries such as Rwanda, and it is one of the tools that will push us towards the path. Because we have to look at what's happening with political parties. We also have to look at how do we engage with aspiring young women leaders? How do we create a supportive ecosystem where we address some of the barriers to their engagement?
Experts say closing gender gaps in employment alone could boost GDP per capita by 20%. MP for Clotilde Colley, Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings, says a lot more ought to be done to address the concerns of women, including the need for Parliament to pass the Affirmative Action Bill that could shore up representation of women.
The Affirmative Action Bill has to be implementable, which means that we have to ensure that it is able to do what it needs to do across sectors and across socioeconomic levels and across different scopes of life. Otherwise, we will find ourselves with a lovely law that looks nice on paper, but will not achieve the desired objective. And so it's not a bill that can be taken lightly. It will require a lot of broad stakeholder engagement. We're going to have to really look at it very critically, because what you also don't want to do is tie yourself up into some kind of a legal knot that makes it impossible to be flexible enough to allow yourself to adapt as circumstances change.
You can miss the full interview of our International Women's Day special with Dr. Angela Lusigi, the UNDP resident representative in Ghana, and also Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings. It airs on the Joy News channel at 10 p.m. Diplomatic Affairs with Blessed Sugar. You can't miss it. It's also live on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. Meanwhile, the Minority Women Caucus in Parliament have lauded the appointment of Professor Jane Nano Opoku-Agyeman as running mate to John Mahama for the 2024 election. The female MPs believe Jane Nano Opoku will partner John Mahama to victory. Comfort Doyo Gansa is the Deputy Minority Whip, and he's been speaking to us.
Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman's reappointment as the vice presidential candidate reflects the confidence that the NDC leadership and the party have reposed in her. Her ability to effectively steer the nation towards progress and prosperity is not in doubt. As female legislators, we recognize the historic significance of having a woman at the forefront of Ghana's political landscape.
Meanwhile, spokesperson for John Mahama says concerns about the political future of Professor Opoku-Agyeman are irrelevant. Critics say the age of the NDC's vice presidential candidate may limit her chances to lead the party after the exit of John Mahama. But spokesperson Joyce Bawa-Bukhtari says no one can tell what the future holds for the NDC.
I believe that everybody is adding them that this is a wise decision, it's a wise process, that at this time in our lives we need unifiers, we need experience, we need not experiment with individuals, we need credibility, we need integrity, we need individuals who have been tried and tested.
How do you respond to the fact that Jane and Opoku-Agyeman would not be able to carry the party beyond 2028?
But all of us standing here we can't see beyond today. Who knows what tomorrow portends for all of us? For now, what we need is a ticket that is a safe pair of hands, one that Ghanaians will rally their support for, one that Ghanaians will look forward to generating and delivering on hope. And I believe that is exactly what the consultation process will deliver for us.
Spokesperson for former President John Dramani Mahama, Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, now focusing on some other issues this afternoon, the existence of a structured government communication at the Jubilee House, as well as various communication wings in the ministry, department and agencies, brings to the fore the relevance of the Ministry of Information. Responding to questions at a vetting in Parliament a while ago, Information Minister Designate Fatimatu Abubakar says despite the resource constraints, the ministry must be maintained.
As we live in an information age, it will be an incurable harm should the Ministry of Information be scrapped. If anything, I am of the belief that we should advocate for more allocation and to let people know the importance of the ministry. Honorable Chair, when the ministry was made at a point in time with the Communications Ministry, if you had been to the Ministry of Information building or the ISD building as we have today, the evidence of the struggles of the various agencies under the ministry was not something that you could even have words to explain. It pays that we have a sector ministry that is minded, that despite the fact that the key entities under the ministry are not income generating, they play a public duty. We need to pay attention to them. It has helped improve the fortunes of the agencies under the ministry and advocate for more investment and more support for the ministry and its agencies so that they can thrive.
Well, she's also optimistic that the yet to be passed broadcasting bill will help regulate media content and deal with misinformation.
This has been a very big problem, and we are also constrained by the provisions under Article 1624 of the Constitution, which prevents government from interfering in the editorial independence of even state-owned media. So sometimes there is a thin line between giving advice to a media house, engaging them to ask them to do the right thing, and them feeling that you are interfering in their editorial independence. That being said, a lot of sensitization ought to be done. And I join hands with all the other CSOs and NGOs within our sector who are minded to take up this responsibility.
Now, as a Muslim, is she ready to welcome another woman into her matrimonial home?
I am happy to say that I contracted marriage under two key regimes. Customary law, because if you want to marry a Kusasi girl from Garu, you can't say because of Islam you are not paying the cattle. So I was married under customary law and also did the nikah, which is Islamic marriage. But under our Ghanaian, our current dispensation, if you do just the nikah, it requires registration. And if you don't register, it is not recognized under the Muhammadan law as we have on our law books now. That being said, Honorable Chair, I was clear in my mind at the time of contracting the marriage that both instances are potentially polygamous marriages. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
That's Information Minister Designate Fatimatu Abubakar at her vetting a while ago. Let me take you to Parliament, and James Aveji is monitoring the rest of the vetting for us. James, who else has been there, and what have they been saying?
Yes, Emefa. So the Information Minister Designate is still facing the committee. Two key issues came up. One was about the murder of Ahmed Swale and how far the case has gone. She said from the briefing she's got from the previous minister, the police are still investigating the matter. She wants them to expedite actions to serve justice to the bereaved family. The issue about the affirmative action bill also came up, especially as the World Marks Women's Day today. She wants the MPs, especially the female MPs in Parliament, to rally their numbers to get the bill passed, promising that if she's given the platform as the information minister, she would also pull her strength to get that passed.
That's James Aveji there giving us updates from what's happening in Parliament. Now, main opposition NDC and other political parties have set aside their differences following the resolution of contentious issues surrounding the use of indelible ink and registration procedures. The recent agreement reached in a meeting between members of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC, and the Electoral Commission has rejuvenated collaborative efforts among political parties, emphasizing transparency and fairness ahead of the electoral process. There's more in this News Desk report.
The opposition NDC staunchly opposed the Electoral Commission's decision to eliminate indelible ink from the electoral process. Party chairman Esiedun Ketia emphasized its significance alongside other concerns raised regarding the removal of the guarantee system and issues with voter registration. Following widespread objections, the EC reversed its decision. Deputy Chair Dr. Bosman Asari cited concerns raised by stakeholders.
As a listening institution, we've heard the concerns of the general public, we've heard the concerns of parliamentarians across the aisle, the MPP and the NDC, civil society members, and we've come to the conclusion that if by using the indelible ink, people will have more confidence in the process, why not?
However, other concerns persisted, including the removal of the guarantee system, discrepancies in the voter registration dates, and the issues of setting new polling stations. The IPAC meeting yesterday served as a crucial platform for constructive dialogue, engaging political parties, civil society organizations, and the EC to address them. The discussions led to the consensus to maintain the status quo. Dr. Edward Omane-Boama speaks for the NDC.
They have agreed that they will expand the registration beyond the district offices, but they will do that in electoral areas that have difficult to reach zones.
Director of Elections and Research for the NPP, Evans Nimako, agreed they're ready for the election.
We'll go along for what exists and make sure that the right things are done. I think as parties, we've had successful deliberation at this meeting, and we see to its fruitful implementation.
A smaller party, the PNC, was also satisfied with the outcome of the meeting. Janet Nabila is General Secretary of the party.
Today, Electoral Commission apologized and then they even promised next time to discuss matters with us before going forward. But today it was very cordial.
The EC has committed to ensure an efficient and smooth electoral process.
That's a News Desk report. Let's head to the Ashanti region now. In the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital there has launched a new remedy to deal with stroke cases. Now this comes as it says it admits over 1,000 stroke patients every year, a figure in contrast to some 200 cases recorded 40 years ago. Clinton Yeboah has more.
While experts exploit contemporary treatment methods, the drugs and medication previously used in stroke treatment did not dissolve blood clots, hence leaving patients with a permanent disability. Active stroke thrombolysis will administer clot-busting drugs and medication to dissolve blood clots in the brain during an acute stroke. Thrombolysis services will incorporate thrombolysis into routine stroke care at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. At the launch of the implementation of thrombolysis services, consultant neurologist at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Fred Stephen Safo, said the new method is revolutionary.
In the past, when somebody had a stroke, what we used to do was you admit the person and start aspirin. But those drugs in the past does not dissolve the clot that has been formed. And so the person will have a permanent disability. But in this intervention, the clot, which is the problem, the one that is causing the symptom, is what you are dissolving from the brain so that the person will be healed and the person will be cured, in essence. So it is revolutionary in that it is novel, it is innovative, and it can really improve outcomes for our patients.
Chief Executive of the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, Professor Ochiri Adeyi Mensah, says the hospital's new strategy is to optimize the delivery of tertiary health care. Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yeboah.
Clinton Yeboah there taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News. And in the UN, and that's the UNDP in Ghana, expressing concern over the underrepresentation of women in Ghana as the world marks International Women's Day. We return from the break and President Akufo-Addo promises memorable and spectacular games as Ghana welcomes the rest of the continent for the All Africa Games.
We had to undergo quite a lot of sacrifices to be able to have mounted these games. And we think that these sacrifices are necessary and acceptable both for ourselves and for the people of the continent of Africa.
And don't forget, Shatta Wale, Pat Thomas and other top musicians will mount the stage at the opening ceremony.
Freedom.
GoTV is stepping up your entertainment from the 15th of January at no extra cost to you. If you are on GoTV Value, upgrade to GoTV Plus to watch GoTV Max. Already on GoTV Plus? Upgrade to GoTV Max to enjoy GoTV Super. And if you are on GoTV Max, upgrade to GoTV Super to enjoy the best of the best on GoTV Super Plus. Don't wait. Step up your entertainment today. It's on us. GoTV. Love it. T&C's apply.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Thanks for sticking with us here on the Midday News on International Women's Day. Now, the attention of Africa and the rest of the world will all be on Ghana tonight as the All Africa Games kicks off tonight with an opening ceremony to be headlined by dancehall artist Shatta Wale, Kofi Kinata, and many others, with the University of Ghana Stadium poised to transform into a hub of cultural celebration and sporting excellence. Excitement is assured among attendees and viewers worldwide. A major highlight of the ceremony will be the parade of nations, where participating athletes will proudly represent their countries in attires from their respective countries, embodying the spirit of unity and sportsmanship. President Akufo-Addo is excited and looking forward to the opening. He spoke to a delegation from the African Union at the Jubilee House.
I was astonished when I came into office to discover that Ghana had never played host to these games. I assumed because of the legacy of Pan-African involvement that is associated with us, that Ghana would have been one of the first, if not the first, to have held these games. And it also contributed to my determination that come what may, we should hold these games in Ghana. It's an important statement of our continuing commitment to the Pan-African heritage. Yeah, we had to undergo quite a lot of sacrifices to be able to have mounted these games, and we think that these sacrifices are necessary and acceptable both for ourselves and for the people of the continent of Africa. We're going to do our best to make sure that these games are a memorable and a spectacular occasion in the history of the African peoples. And we're grateful that you have found it possible to be with us here, especially at the opening ceremony that will take place. I myself will make sure that I'm there on time.
And the ceremony will feature Ghanaian dancehall artist Shatta Wale, South Africa's Kamo Mfela, and many more. My colleague Jacqueline and Smayeboa has more in this report.
The African Games, formerly known as the All African Games, are a continental, multidisciplinary Pan-African sports event held every 4 years, exclusively owned by the African Union on behalf of its member state. 4,000 athletes are expected to participate in 23 sports disciplines. The opening ceremony, scheduled for 8th March 2024 at 3 p.m., promises to kick off the games in style, with dancehall king Shatta Wale expected to set the stage alight with his hit songs. Him in what is expected to be a beautiful showcase of talent is none other than the Terminator hitmaker King Promise.
Who are you to judge me like?
Up there, representing the spirit of Africa, is South African and Dali hitmaker Kamo Infela. Adding to the beauty of the event are high life legends Pat Thomas and Ebo Taylor, who were set to make a grand appearance. Classics, they would undoubtedly take patrons on a Ghanaian and African musical journey. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansma Yeboah.
And that's a Jacqueline and Sumayabo's report, and definitely we'll be bringing you more from that opening ceremony right here on Joy and also on Joy News. Now, former Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta has described Dr. John Kuma's death as unbelievable. Dr. Kuma worked as the Deputy Finance Minister to Ken Ofori-Atta, and they've been working together since 2021. Ken Ofori-Atta tells Joy Business Dr. Kuma is someone who can be described as a dependable public servant.
This is one of those things that it was just saddening and tragic and just unbelievable because we had spoken on Sunday, talking about a way forward and the things he was going to be doing. And he was just checking in on me, how I was also doing. That's the strength of the empathy. But I was in my study when I got a call, and I was just stunned, so unexpected. And I've been working with John since February 2021, and he's just one of the most, passionate and patriotic people, I have met.
Well, that's the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, tribute continues to pouring from Parliament.
We were chatting with colleagues, trying to find out. Some of us were hoping that it would be one of those hoaxes. On Tuesday, when I was making my contribution in debating the State of the Nation's address, he was in the House. And where I sit, I could see him very clearly, looking at me, admiring me, smiling once in a while when I was throwing punches. It's a blow to his family, it's a blow to his party, and it's a blow to the nation. Because he's a young man with a lot of prospect.
Very cool and collected. He was always beaming with laughter. John was always receptive. He was not too partisan. Very much accommodating.
Well, some views from Parliament, and my colleague Kwekwa Sante joins us from Parliament 24 hours after the passing of Dr. Kuma. What's the mood today, you'd say?
Well, Emefa is still a very somber mood. If you come to Parliament, almost all MPs are clad in black, especially on the side of the majority where he belonged. In fact, his own seat has been draped with a red cloth. And a ritual morning that we know now in Parliament, the roll call began this morning and his name was skipped. There was expectation that his name would be mentioned as usual, but his name was skipped. Obviously, Parliament having gotten that information, although officially it hasn't been passed on to the Speaker.
That's Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante. And this is just one of the ways residents of Ejusu in the Ashanti region have described their late MP and Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma. Now, since the news of his death broke yesterday, many of the residents have been wailing in the compound of his house, uttering various ways he's been of help to them. The Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, who gives some details on the events leading to his death, says the region has lost a great gem.
He came down to the constituency with the intention of attending the 5th March parade. Unfortunately, during the night, he felt sick and could not make it to the parade ground. During the night, he felt the condition was getting worse and decided to rush him to Accra so that he could plane to Germany for further checkup. It was on the way that they had to branch to Shulum Hospital because they realized that the situation was deteriorating very, very fast. And at the hospital that he could not be.
Nana Boachidakwa joins us from his residence. Nana, what's the latest there?
Well, Emefa, it's morning start since here at his private residence here at Juso Ogni, where residents continue to troop into his private residence to mourn with his family. Well, we've seen his mother and his father who are very, very much broken upon hearing the demise of their son. 24 hours after his death, people continue to come in to mourn with the parents of the late Member of Parliament for the Edisu constituency, John Kuma.
That's my colleague Nana Boachi Dankwa joining us from the Idrisu residence of Dr. John Kuma there. And tributes continue to pouring also on social media.
Yeah.
MNJ, what are people talking about?
Yeah, so we have this one from Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo. She says on Twitter, the morning after Jenny on John, this is a big blow to UG class of 2003. John was an intelligent and mature individual. No matter one's disagreement with policy position, he will politely acknowledge your concern and make his point. Rest in peace, John Kuma.
Yeah, and Emefa, this one is from John DeMello, and he says, I briefly met Honorable John Kuma 2 weeks ago at an agric event where we were both speakers. I admired him from afar and knew he was definitely destined for greatness. My condolences to his wife and family.
And people are talking about International Women's Day too?
Yes, Antonio Guterres, the UN chief, he says full legal equality for women is some 300 years away. This rate of change is frankly insulting. Half of humanity can't wait centuries for their rights. We need equality now. And we hear Kenya's president has announced the appointment of 10 women ambassadors and 6 women deputy ambassadors on International Women's Day.
But Emefa, have you posted your picture on social media?
Yes, I have. There's a flyer on International Women's Day. All the strong women.
Yeah, and that's my dedication playing in the background right now to all the ladies out there. I have how many ladies in the studio? 3 of them.
Yes.
So you guys run the world, man.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil is up next. God is Faithful, episode 4.